Well, awesome. We are here with Kelly this week. Kelly's one of our high schoolers, and so I'm so excited to have her get to share just a little bit of what's on her heart and what she feels she can encourage us with this week. And so, Kelly, before you dive in, one thing I just want everyone to give a chance to ask and answer for us is just these two quick things. One is tell us how long you've been a part of Lex City with your family, and then two, tell us just some fun thing about you.
Okay, so I have been a part of Lex City before it was Lex City. I've been going to this church my whole life, actually, so about 15 years. Um, and then this is kind of random, like it's not very interesting, but I have this fear of spoons, just like the eating utensil. Um, can't stand them. So I eat ice cream with a fork and I avoid soup.
Wow, that is interesting. I don't know what you're talking about. I've never met someone with a fear of spoons. Is there some traumatizing story we need to know about?
Yes, when I was in middle school, my friends held spoons up to my eyes for some reason I would never know, and I just don't like spoons since.
Wow. So to all you middle schoolers watching, do not scar your friends with spoons, all right? This is a very important time in your life. You'll be scared of spoons for the rest of your life. Cool. Well, Kelly, I'm going to hand it over to you. I just wanted to give you a chance just to share kind of whatever God's been placing on your heart, anything you think you can just encourage us with. I'm excited to kind of get students and small group leaders a chance to be able to teach during this COVID-19 time. So I'm going to hand it over to you for whatever you got for us.
Awesome. So, what I want to talk about today is like this image that God has given me about like what we center our lives on. So if you didn't know, I just recently got a dog. So we had to like finish fencing our backyard because there was this random empty hole. So one day I was making lunch. And if you're random and want to know exactly what I was making pasta and it was really good. But anyway, I was looking at this fence that we were in the process of building. And there were three different things that I noticed. And it was the three different elements of the structure and how they all relied on each other. So um, it kind of started at like the base, like those huge blocks of wood that sit in the ground that hold everything together. And I just kind of heard God say, this is the center of your life. And everything else that built on it, it's being defined by what you've set in the center. And it got me thinking of like, what do I keep in the center of my life? And, I was looking at the fence and I realized there are less of these base posts, I guess, than everything else. And it was, you have to be really specific on what you keep in the center. So for me, that's my relationship with Jesus and my relationship with my parents. And, if you have siblings, that could be a part of it. Or like the small group leaders, if you're married, that's a big part of it. So then, I was looking at this and they're like these support beams, I guess, that go from the base to base to base. And God said, this is important, but it shouldn't be at the center. And he got me thinking of what is that? What is important, but still relies on other things? And that is the relationship with the church that I have that depends on my relationship with Jesus. And that's how I'm going to relate to church. My relationship with my friends. And that's from knowing my best friend, Jesus. So it's going to help me be a good friend. My relationship with my parents is also going to help me be a good friend because I know how to be a good person through their teachings. So like my job is also very important because it relies on my parents and they trust me to do a good job and still be able to do my schoolwork even though I'm working. And then I do a lot of music and that relies on Jesus and my parents helping me through that and giving me the space to do that. And I write a lot of music and it's a lot about Jesus, a lot about like what he's leading me through. So for other people, this could be like a sport you play. I don't play any sports. I used to dance. That was really important to me in a season of life that I had where I could just go to dance and not care about anything else. And it was kind of like I was dancing for God, like David danced for God, and being undignified in that. And I didn't have to care about what other people were thinking about me. Whereas like music, I felt like I had to be perfect all the time. And I actually got injured dancing. So God was teaching me how to not prove myself to other people through the things that he was leading me through. I still love dancing. I still follow like 17 ballet companies on Instagram, but it's not something that I get to take part of right now. And he's also been leading me through how to be okay with that. And then maybe if you have like a boyfriend or girlfriend, like that could also be a really good support thing that's built upon like your relationship with your family, and being supported by them through your walk with that. So any other like activity that takes up a lot of like time, brain space, and heart space could also be one of those like supporting beams that's not quite the center, but not quite nothing, you know?
Mm-hmm.
So then like the last thing on this fence were like the panels on the outside. And, you know, God revealed that to me of like, this is what other people look at, but it's not the center of my life.
Hmm.
So for me, I love Starbucks and I love coffee, and I get to enjoy Starbucks and coffee through paying for it with my job. And the only reason I have a job is because my parents trust me to have a job. So I guess that kind of shows me like my center goes out and out and out and out, and it just influences everything else that I'm doing. And there was a season of life that I went through that what was at the center of my life wasn't the best thing in the world. It wasn't life-giving, and it tore apart my relationship with my family, my friends, and kind of separated me from Jesus, because I was actively sinning in this, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But once I kind of let go of what I was holding on to, and I was keeping at the center, God drew near to me because I drew near to him, and he kind of pushed that bad thing out of my life and put him back in the center.
So, first of all,
Okay.
I hurt while dancing. I have also been hurt while dancing, but mine was doing like the worm. I'm assuming
Okay.
yours was probably a different injury from dancing.
Yes.
Okay, I just make sure it wasn't like a worm incident. Wouldn't want you to. That's fine. Second, though, for real, is I think that's such a great picture of just how our life is. Like that fence is a great analogy. I thank you for just bringing that to our mind of like, if there's the two vertical posts are like, what are we foundationally, like the things that we, like a fence does not stand without those vertical posts in the ground. And so like those are essential, but then we also have those horizontal ones that are important things that do hold our life together, but they're still built upon the very two foundational. And then I think you did a great example too of just those things. When you look at a fence, you don't see those things. You just see the outside panels. And so the outside is how we portray ourselves, but we have to be built on the real stuff behind. I think that's so good. So for you, how do you figure out what are those vertical beams in your life, or the center, like you were saying, how do you kind of figure out what those are? And then if one of those maybe isn't something that it should be, how did you realize that and kind of make a change with that?
So I wrote up, like, here's what I'm going to talk about. And in my first draft, I put in there, you know, Starbucks is something that I love, and it's one of those panels, but it's not what I think about in the morning and in the evening when I wake up and when I go to bed. So I guess what I think about first and what I think about last every single day, that's what my life is centered on. So I always start my day by praying. I wake up at 5:45. My alarm goes off at 5:15, but I wake up at 5:45
No shame.
and I pray. And when I go to bed, I like to read, and then I'll like turn off the light and I'll pray. And that's how I stay centered in Jesus every day. And that's how I keep a constant conversation with him. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that's a great even advice then for if we feel like maybe we have something right now that, if we're honest, is one of those center things that our life is around and it's not something that it should be. I think a way to change that then is, what can we think of? What do we want those centers to be? I think yours were great ones, like your relationship with God and your relationship with your parents. Like if those are both strong, your life is going to be pretty strong. And so
Right.
if you want your life to be founded on those, then you have to put your mind towards those. You have to keep those like in your mind of, I'm going to work on this. I'm going to focus on this. I think that's really, really good.
So I just got Instagram, and one of the ways that Instagram has not become some of these like base things in my life is I make sure my phone is off by 10, and I make sure my phone doesn't come on until 7. So I'm not going to end my day with Instagram, and I'm not going to begin my day with Instagram, because it's not what I need to be thinking about.
I think that's so wise. I think some people will be like, that is crazy. How do you ever do that? Right. But you do it because you realize I want to focus on the most important things. And Instagram's not bad. I love getting to do it all day, but I need to make sure that it doesn't become a main thing. And so I'm like actively just protecting myself. I think that's so smart and so wise. And I think that's great advice to us of how like a practical thing we can do to anything that we feel like is maybe taking over our life, to say, hey, what limits do I need to put on this? Right. So that I'm not putting a limit on Jesus or how much time I'm spending with him. That's really good.
So my verse for us is 1 John 1:7. But if we are living in the light, as God is in the light, then we will have fellowship with each other, and the blood of Jesus, his son, cleanses us from all sin. So I have emotions for this verse. So it's, if we are living in the light, as God is in the light, we will have fellowship with each other, as the blood of Jesus, his son, cleanses us from all sin.
There we go. So that's sign language for the verse as you go, huh?
And actually, like, I did that twice with saying it, and I was like, Mom, look, I can say this whole verse without looking at it because I know these motions.
That's cool. Yeah, it's a great way to help remember it. Well, as we finish and close then, do you have any specific follow-up that we could do this week if we just wanted to keep thinking about this or learning more about it? Do you have a verse we can read or a prayer we can do, or what would be like your tips to do this week to keep our minds on this?
So I think just doing like the 4 questions of who are you, God? Who am I? Where's the fear? And where is it causing unforgiveness? I can put my blog link in the comments if you want me to.
Yeah, do that.
Where like, here are the questions and all this kind of thing. So I guess just, spending some time with God in that. And then, asking him as well, what is the center? And is it giving me life? Or is it going to lead me into,
Yeah, that's great. Well, awesome. Kelly, thanks so much just for sharing and just sharing with us what God has been putting on your heart. I think it's going to be very practical and helpful for all of us. And we have great time now to sit down and really think about those questions. And so I hope that we do. And one thing you said, you're super passionate about music, and I do know you write a ton of music. And so if you haven't heard Kelly's music, she does a great job. Where can people find your music? Give a quick little plug. You deserve it. Where do people find your music?
So it's also on my blog, so I'll make sure to put that in the comments, and it's just under the music tab. I'm on YouTube and SoundCloud.
All right. Very cool. Well, go listen to her stuff. Kelly, you do a great job with that. So again, thanks for just encouraging us this week.